Hi there, it's Balthazar, and today I want to share with you a form of candle magic that is based in the Key of Solomon. You may have been interested in working with the Key of Solomon, and then when you looked into it, you may have been somewhat intimidated by the sheer quantity of paraphernalia, the complexity of that grimoire, and decided to put it aside. There is another approach available, and that is to come at it as a folk magical practitioner, to work with it in a folk magical style. And that's what I set out to do with this spell, and that's what I'm going to show you today with this demonstration. A way of incorporating the seals, the spirits, and some of the technology of the grimoire into a relatively simple candle spell format that will allow you to work with the grimoire and its spirits in an accessible way. However, this isn't something of my own invention. There is a historical precedent for this, and during the Renaissance period and even earlier, there were addendums to the grimoires referred to as books of secrets. And these books contained spells, charms, and formulas that were much more folk magically oriented, much more accessible, and proved to be very popular with cunning men and women and folk magical practitioners all over the world, where these grimoires ended up spreading to, such as the American South, such as the Caribbean. And this is one of the reasons they were propagated as far and wide as they were. Now, it's important to remember that the seals in the Greater Key and the intention of that grimoire is they are designed to direct the spirits during the evocation procedure. You could say that they structure or they program the spirits to carry out the intention of the seals. And there are a great many seals with all kinds of wonderful properties. But the key idea here is really that the seals operate by means of the spirits. And in order to activate the seal's full power, in order to get their full potential use, you need to invoke the spirits, and you need to do that in a way that is consistent with the logic and the worldview of the grimoire. But whereas in the grimoire the intention is to evoke the spirits to full visible appearance and communicate with them and direct them in particular ways, in the spell our intention is merely to invoke their influence into the spell in order to expedite its means. And my intention here really is to take these traditional grimoiric spirits and the seals and combine them with the magical processes found in hoodoo's candle work. So it's a synthesis of these two streams of magical work, and it isn't traditional hoodoo. I have to make that clear. So while this spell takes the form of a candle magic ritual, the color attributions, the herbal correspondences, the oils and these things really follow on grimoire tradition rather than on traditional hoodoo correspondences. So for example, in this spell I use Balm of Gilead as a way of bringing a Jupiter herbal correspondence into a wealth rite. Now in African American hoodoo, Balm of Gilead is traditionally associated with reconciliation work, with making peace between enemies sometimes. And it's interesting to note that in the grimoires, Balm of Gilead is associated to Jupiter, which is a merciful, forgiving planet. So there is some overlap there, but nonetheless, the colors, the herbal correspondences, and so forth that this system uses really is drawn from the grimoire tradition and follows along the correspondences that are given really in the Greater Key itself. So I hope you find this demonstration helpful and interesting. I hope it sparks some ideas for you. Please leave your comments down below to let me know what your thoughts are. Like or share this or subscribe if you found it useful, and thank you for watching. I've chosen Jupiter-based rite for this example work, and for this you will need 4 blue taper candles, a 7-day glass encased candle. You will need the seal from the Key of Solomon that you've chosen to work with. I'll get into that in a bit. You will need a herb of planetary association. So in this case it would be a Jupiter herb, and I've chosen balm of Gilead. It functions both as an herb and as an incense, which is very useful in this case. You will need holy water, and that could be holy water gathered from a church, which is my preference, or you could make Solomonic holy water, which you can find in the Key of Solomon. There's a conjuration and a rite for that. You'll need a censer for burning your incense, self-lighting charcoal, fireproof tongs for handling the charcoal when it's lit. Frankincense. Frankincense can be used with any of the planets, so it's nice to have in addition to any other planetary incense. Holy anointing oil, which is an all-purpose anointing oil for Solomonic work. And then I've chosen cedar here, cedar essential oil, because cedar wood is associated with Jupiter, so that's another planetary association that I'm going to bring into this rite. Then, very importantly, you will need a flat ceramic dish. This could be, in this case, I've used a pizza dish. I've got a stack of these, they're very useful. But you could use a large ceramic floor tile as an alternative. And we will be inscribing the pentacles and the sigils and so forth on this surface. I highly suggest you get this because in later videos I'm going to demonstrate all kinds of rites that use this as the basis. So if you want to follow along, then that's going to be necessary. And then lastly, liquid chalk markers. Liquid chalk is very important and very useful in this work because firstly it allows us to inscribe glass or ceramic surfaces with the sigils and the pentacles that we will be using in this rite, both on the ceramic plate and on the glass in case visual this will be used. And the reason we use the liquid chalk, apart from the convenience that it offers us, they come in various colors which we can then have in correspondence with the planetary associations. In this case it's blue, so that's really handy and great. But another important aspect of using these is that once we are done with the rite, they are very easy to wash off of the plate, so we can reuse the dish again. I refer to this as the tablet or the tablet of lights. And similarly, we can wash it off the empty vigil glass when the candles finish burning. And the reason that is important is that the pentacles and the holy names and the figures and the sigils are all holy. They're sacred. And we want a way to wash them off of the vigil before we throw away this glass, because it would be very disrespectful to the angels and to the holy names to throw those away into the trash with them still inscribed on there. So this is one of the reasons it's very important for me to do this in liquid chalk. Now we are ready to begin, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about the mechanics of this rite. I've chosen for this example the second pentacle of Jupiter, and in the grimoire it describes, "This is proper for acquiring glory, honors, dignities, riches, and all kinds of good, together with great tranquility of mind, also to discover treasures and chase away spirits who preside over them." So this is a great pentacle for wealth magic, for generating income, for finding a job, anything of that nature. You could use that for this pentacle for that. It's really great. And I have to mention that it's a good idea to print this on the planetary color. So that's the pentacle. This pentacle or this seal is the seal that directs the spirits. This is the seal that programs the power to manifest in a certain way, right? We will be using this, it will be turned into a talisman, but it's also it structures the spiritual forces, you could say. So that's important, right? Secondly, we will be using the first pentacle of Jupiter. This serveth to invoke the spirits of Jupiter, and especially those whose names are written around the pentacle, among whom Parasil is a lord and master of treasures, and teaches how to become the possessor of places wherein they are, right? So, and this is really the key of this method. No pun intended, right? The pentacle in each set It looks like an 8-spoked wheel with sigils all around the wheel. That is the pentacle that gives the magician power over the spirits of that set of pentacles. It gives the magician power to invoke those spirits and direct them, and especially the 4 spirits, or the 4 angels really, that are written around the perimeter of that pentacle. And that pentacle is the pentacle we will inscribe now on the surface of the tablet. And for that you will need a ruler, small ruler. I suggest a side plate to use as a guide for the circle. And then using the blue liquid chalk, next we inscribe the sigil of the archangel who governs the sphere of Jupiter, and that, in this case, it is Sachiel. Now the sigil for Sachiel and the archangel sigils are not to be found in the Key of Solomon. This sigil that I'm using here comes from the Heptameron. In addition to that, I'm going to write the archangel's name. Below the sigil, the holy name, the name of God that rules the sphere, I'm going to write above the archangel name. In this case it's L, like so. Next we're going to place the tapers. We're going to set them around the candle. Each angel will have its own taper. And before we do so, we're going to dress them. There's some holy anointing oil here. And I'm going to show you how I dress candles. When I'm drawing an influence towards me, in this case we're doing wealth magic, so we're drawing the influence, I like to turn the candle so that the pointy end is pointing at me, and then I like to dress the oil towards me to bring that influence towards me. And you can use planetary oil to do this, but in this case I'm just using holy anointing oil to do this. And then you'll want a second candle or an additional candle on the side, lit so that you can drip some wax. I will be dripping wax and setting the candle on each of the angel names. Similarly, I'm going to dress the blue vigil with some holy anointing oil. I'm going to add a drop of cedar to that. And I'm going to add a pinch of balm of Gilead. To the vigil. Planetary herb in this case. You would take your angel seal, in this case the second seal of Jupiter, and write your petition on the back. So now the petition has been written on the back of the seal, and we are ready to use the seal in conjunction. So now we are ready to begin the rite itself. I've set up a small altar here with the blue cloth that corresponds to the planetary color of Jupiter. We have our incense here. I've got frankincense and balm of Gilead that we'll also be using as an incense. We've got our charcoal disc ready there, holy water, holy anointing oil, and I've got a sprig of bay laurel for sprinkling the holy water, right? And it's very important to note that this rite makes use of planetary hours. This is one thing that the key is very specific about, that planetary hours are very important for this work. And while I don't have the time to go into calculating planetary hours, this is easy enough to find out online or with an app on your phone. But an easy rule of thumb to remember is that the first hour on the day of the planet, in this case would be Thursday, so the first hour after dawn on the day is roughly the same as the planetary hour. That varies by the length of the day because it has to do with the calculation of the planets, but roughly first hour on the day of the planet is the planetary hour. So when in doubt, get up at dawn and do this work, right? Then secondly, it's very important to have been ritually bathed, and ideally that would be with a hyssop bath. And if you don't have hyssop, then at the very least you should be showered and you should wear a clean set of clothes. So now we are ready to move on to the rite itself, and the spell consists of two parts. The first part is a series of preliminary consecrations for the materials to purify everything, and then the second part is the actual invocation of the angels and the spirits for this. I won't be saying the full invocations for this demonstration, because this is just a demo. I don't intend to actually invoke the spirits frivolously. I take these things quite seriously, but I will go through every part of the spell describing which invocation goes where. Then, using the consecrations in the Key of Solomon, we would begin by taking the sprinklings a little bit of holy water on the tablet's pentacle and some holy water on the paper seal, saying the consecration of the pentacles over these. Next, we would take some more holy water, sprinkling it on the candles respectively, saying the exorcism of the candles, also to be found in the key. We would then proceed to saying an exorcism over the incense, and lastly we would light the charcoal, and we would say the exorcism of the fire over the charcoal to purify the fire. Now we're ready for the invocations, and to begin, magicians should take some holy anointing oil and anoint themselves first. Close the eyes for a minute or so in silence. Gather your awareness into stillness. And when you feel the moment is right, you will begin intoning the opening prayer from the grimoire. Once the opening prayer has been said, then next, the magician takes a pinch of a frankincense, and then we'll add this to the censer. And as the smoke from the frankincense rises, the magician will say a supplication to the aspect of God which rules this rite, which is El. And as that smoke rises, the magician is then attuned to the power of the highest aspect of the sphere of Jupiter. And in so doing, a certain divine authority then is imbued upon him. Combined with the smoke will then begin to attune this environment to the power of the sphere, making it fit for drawing in the influence of the spirits. Next, we would light the archangel candle. And as we light the archangel candle, we invoke the archangel Sigils in this case, by the power and the authority of the holy name, which we've just attuned to. And by invoking the archangel Sigils, his power, influence and protection is invoked into the spell. And by the placement of the candle, his authority is now put over the angels and the spirits that we will be invoking next, right? When this invocation is done, we proceed to light the candle at the top, which belongs to Netoniel in this case, and we will invoke this angel by the authority of the archangel. We proceed to Tzedakah, invoking Tzedakah by the authority of the archangel. We light Devachaya's candle, invoking Devachaya by the authority of the archangel. We light Parasiel's candle by the authority of the archangel. Now you will feel a sudden change in the atmosphere, and this vibrating potentiality is certainly there. Attention has been called to this rite, and this is the cue for you to take a pinch of the balm of Gilead and add it to the censer. And as that smoke rises, and a general invocation to the angels is made, and smoke is then offered to them as thanks for their presence, and to please them and to appease them in some sense. The pentacle is then taken up, it's passed through the smoke a couple of times, and then the petition is read aloud to the angels. And the petition will be specific to whatever your intention is. So for example, if your intention is to boost your business income to say $20,000 a month or something of that sort, then this will be the point at which you state that specific intention. Once this intention has been stated, the seal goes underneath the archangel candle, like so. And the magician then should take a minute to scry the center candle, to look into the candle flame. Often you will find that images, impressions, and so forth from the spirits will be made clear in this process of scrying. Now we haven't evoked the spirits to appearance, we've just invoked their power into the spell, but still this is a good opportunity to get some kind of divination and feedback. Once the magician is satisfied with the feedback received, you leave the setup to burn. And these should take anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to burn down, depending on what kind of tapers you've used. But once they've burned down, you return to the setup and you will then say a brief dismissal and a thanks to the angels and the spirits that have been invoked. The center candle, the archangel candle, however, will remain lit and will be left to burn. And that's to have the archangels continued authority in the work. It's to have the archangels' power to structure and direct these forces. They require a structuring power, they require a lens to direct their influence, and this is the role of the archangels' presence here. This follows a very ancient pattern within Solomonic magic that goes back all the way to the roots of Hellenistic and Greco-Egyptian magics, where spirits are invoked by the power of spirits that are more senior to themselves. So we invoke the archangel by the power and the authority of the holy name of God, which in this case is El, and then we invoke the four angels of the seal by the authority of the archangel. Nonetheless, we leave this candle to burn, and then once the vigil has burnt, we can then take the second pentacle of Jupiter that we've used in this rite. We can put it in a silk bag or wrap it in a silk cloth, a white silk cloth, and then wear this on us as a talisman. And then there is the option of reciting the psalm that's inscribed on that seal. Each one of the pentacles within the Key of Solomon has got a psalm associated with it, and one of the suggestions in the grimoire is to stare into the seal and to repeat the psalm or the versicle to activate its powers, as it were. So this is a way that you can work with it on a daily basis to bring about the manifestation of the goal. So then, keeping in mind the structure of the spell, the formula that I've provided there, it becomes a relatively straightforward matter of substituting the colors, the herbal correspondences, the names of the angels, and of course the seals based on the grouping of seals by planet, in order to change the rite to work with the different set of seals. And if you've worked with a key, inserting all the orations and the conjurations at the appropriate points that I've indicated shouldn't be much of a problem for you. However, to make this easier, I have created a PDF bundle that includes a PDF that has the entire spell script for each of the planets, including all the angel names, all the conjurations in all the right places, and all the extra details that you would need to adapt it for each of the set of seals, along with the planetary herbal correspondences, suggestions for perfumes, and a couple of other little tips that make this rite really sing that you might find useful. You can find a download link for it down below, And I hope you found this tutorial, this demo interesting and helpful, and I'd love to hear all your thoughts about it. Please leave a comment and remember to subscribe and to share this if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.